Welcome back. We are again joined by Konjin Yu from Turenscape, and he will now present the project Deep Form of Designed Nature, Sanya Mangrove Park in China. Please.
Thank you again. Good to see you again. I'm sorry I have to compete between my two projects. But this project is in the category of nature, Sanya Mangrove in South China's Hainan Island. So the challenge is big. Storm, climate change, you can see it's a global change. But how can we achieve climate resiliency? Do we have to build a higher and stronger concrete flood wall? This project shows you that it may not necessary to restore the nature, to restore the mangrove, instead of building concrete wall, to create climate resiliency by nature-based solution. Now, in just 3 years, a lifeless land within a concrete flood wall was transformed into a large mangrove park. This was a site you can see here, and this was built in just 3 years. That's a large mangrove community. You can see here, mangrove is widely distributed along the globe here in the subtropical, tropical region, you can see here. And China, in the past 50 years, has destroyed most of the mangrove in these urban areas. Now, this project is just a fairly specific site, but it's a typical situation in South China. You can see the mangrove being destroyed, and we build a city over it and build a flood wall to try to protect the city. The site was in between the fresh water and the salt sea water. Now that's a habitat, ideal habitat for mangrove to grow. And this site have many challenges, of course. The first challenge is wind, it's a tropical storm. The strong annual tropical monsoon storm may harm the process of mangrove rehabilitation and destroys the fledgling mangrove planting. So how can we establish the mangrove from the beginning with the wind? And the second challenge is water pollution. And I mean the flush from the mountains, the freshwater storm. The upstream floods from the monsoon storm water may wash away the young mangrove community. Now that's usually you can see. Before you establish a mangrove, it'll be washed away by the annual flood from the mountain, from the city. And the third challenge is pollution. The polluted urban runoff may damage the sensitive mangrove seedlings and the biodiversity of the mangrove community. And the third challenge is, of course, how can allow people to access the mangrove without destroying it? How can use it for the people, but at the same time, we can have a nature. Now, to meet all these 4 challenges, we have these all 4 strategies. That's the map you will see. That's the site. It's integrating all 4 challenges, our four strategies. The first strategy is to create an adaptive interlocked fingers, the deep form, so that allows the mangrove to avoid the wind and the destructive flood from the above. This is before the site, is after. Interlocking fingers to create a hatch place for mangrove to establish. Now here is a diagram you will see to avoid a tropical destructive storm from the ocean, from the sea, at the same time avoid the flash water from above. Here you can see that's why we created the interlocking fingers to create really ideal habitat for mangrove to get established. And here you can see how the section works to allow diverse species to get established. The ecotones with diverse aquatic setting This was the before, and that's after. And this is a high tide, this is a low tide. And that's the planting process. Now we have, because of under this interlocking finger habitat, we have a natural zones, natural success, which cannot is intact by human activities. And the other side, the urban side, will be accessible for people. This is a growing process. The plant seedlings, the growing process, the mixture of species, and that's a typical part of the part. You can see the interlocking finger. So my right side will be nature for habitat for birds, for all kinds of species. The left side will be accessible for people to have bird watching and for exercise and for pedestrian and for exercises. Now that was a site. You can see a barren urban debris protected by a high flood wall, and that's a process. Without taking more land, we actually let the salt water into the land and meet the fresh water from above. This is the first year and this is the third year. So the mangrove get well established. The second strategy is to recycle the material on site by cut and fill, and by removing the concrete wall and recycle the concrete wall on site, so that we can create this terraced habitat. This was a site before, and this is today. You can see we actually, by very simple cut and fill, balancing the earthwork on site and turn the gray infrastructure into green. This is today you will see. And the third strategy is the terracing and creating biosphere system to catch the urban runoff, which contain all the pollutions from the urban situation. Now this is a terracing ground to reduce the 9-meter drop from the ocean, from the land, from the city. And see here, you can see the terrace ground to catch storm water and the pollution, and actually turns the terrace into a living wall, a vertical living system, living wall. Here the firms get established because you get urban stormwater to get irrigate this habitat. Now the fourth strategy is the adaptive design of pavilions and access. This was a site. This was a pre-existing situation, 9-meter drop from the city. Now here is today's the design. We create the ramp, and allow people to walk through the ramp and go into the park. See the skywalk connecting the ramp and the city above the canopy. And the pavilions, because there's a tropical climate and there's a tropical storm. So you need a very strong pavilions. So we created such a concrete pavilion to be able to resist the strong tropical storm, providing shelter and shading in the changeable local weather, and the refuge for bird watching. It is a self-standing pavilion and modulated concrete that are both create both for shading and framing of the landscape, and itself become part of the landscape and artistic installation, and become a focal point, a gathering place for the local people and the visitors. You can see everyday people just enjoy the landscape. But the other side is totally nature. It's become nature. Birds, you can hear people watching birds from this side, the white eagles on the other side, fishing on this established mangrove. So this is a 4-year using before 2015, and this is today. You will see a transformed mangrove become a buffer for the tropical storm. It is one of
Kunjin,
China's
I'm
first
sorry,
official.
I have to interrupt this because we are out of time for the presentation. I'm sorry, it's a wonderful
Okay,
project. It's a
this
really,
is the last
really
image. Yeah,
fantastic. The last image, okay, good.
yeah, this is the
So
last
it's
one.
very.
So this is one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this is China's first official demonstrative project of Sponge City. It survived the tropical storm of 2020 and 2021. It got an ASLA Award 2020 and AZ Award 2019. So we present this project for this year's Landscape Award. Thank you.
Congratulations. And so
Sorry.
we will go to questions. I will pass now first, for example, to Todd. Do you have any questions? Or
I think it's fantastic. I love the mangroves. I think they're just so important, and just see those horrible concrete walls disappear. That ghastly sort of 20th century engineering, go back to something so rudimentary but so important. And I like the fact that it actually is going to address this whole river system in the South of China. I think it's a great idea. I was just wondering, in terms of the, I noticed in some of your notes said semi-mangrove. Can you tell me what that means? I suppose you're moving up the slope, so is that it becomes less mangrove because there's less brackish water? Is that what happens?
Yeah, it is a brackish water. It's gonna come from. I mean, it's meeting point between fresh water from upstream and the ocean salty water. Yeah.
Because how high can the mangroves go? I mean, they have to have their feet in the water all the time, don't they? Basically, is that right?
Well, yes, high tide. The
High tide,
salty
exactly.
water will move. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't have any more questions. I think it's a fantastic thing. Lily?
Thank you. I agree quickly. I mean, it just fantastic use of a kind of smart formal strategy to kind of encourage this ecological process. I really like that use of the form and using the ecological process to your advantage. I guess I wonder how, you said it's surviving the storms of 2020, 2021. How do you think, I mean, it's actually quite inland. When I looked at it on the map, it is not right on the water's edge. And so I'm just interested how it works in relation. I mean, is it an immediate storm coming from the South China Sea, or does it take a while to infiltrate into this part of the city? It was just interesting to me that it was so far away from the edge of the water. Yeah.
Well, when you look at the image here, it's actually fairly close. Certainly, it is a major river. Is a major river of the city, so the storm will all the way go to the river. Yes, yeah.
And another question is just about the challenges that you faced during it. I mean, when you present, obviously, it always seems like on fait accompli that this is going to be a fantastic project. But can you tell us a little bit about the challenges of the construction, or what were some of the issues during the development of the project?
Well, we have faced many challenges. The first challenge is actually convincing the engineer, the hydrological engineer, the civic engineer. We spend a lot of time to convincing the engineer to let us to remove the concrete wall and to make this become a demonstrative project. And lucky enough, because this is we are supported by the Chinese Central Ministry of Urban Rural Construction as a demonstrative project. So because of the success of this project, we actually replicate this project along the river. The whole river right now we are doing to use this model to remove the concrete to turn green into green. That's biggest challenge. Not nothing.
That was my only other question: is where else can you do this?
Well, I think because we have this project, make it beautiful and scientifically working, this will become really a demonstrative project. Right now, we get many similar projects. It's important for landscape architect to show them that it's working. It's working, yeah.
Indeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I have one question regarding the interlocking fingers. Is this a regular thing? I don't know much about mangrove rehabilitation, I must admit. And how did you come up with this? Is this an existing solution already?
No, we invented this is a solution based on the analysis of the process. That's why we call it the deep form. You have to, because people try to grow mangrove when it is destroyed, but they're difficult, as I said. When the mangrove are young, the storm will take away. You know, it's difficult to get established, and so we have to start with the seedlings. When it gets established, the mangrove will be very strong because it gets a root system. But when it's very young, you have to let it established. So that's why we have to see minimal intervention to create this hatch. I mean, this very safe place for young mangrove to get established. That's why, and also because of the interlocking finger, you will create this curvilinear and this edge. We call the edge effect. Ecologically called the edge effect. So we have a more edge. You will have certainly better ecological surfaces. You have much better interface between water and land, so that more species and more diversities and easy get established. So this is basically based on the ecological analysis of the site.
Mm-hmm. So you will probably be using the same approach with your future projects with mangrove rehabilitation.
Yes. Yes, I think it is really, it's working. Yeah.
Okay, great. Any more questions?
Thank you.
No, I was going to say, I think it's really lovely the way that you separate the pedestrian movement. You allow them access, but they sort of fly above it, because it's so nice that it's non-interventionist. You sort of feel that the natural systems are allowed to take place and people can observe it, but without sort of intervening too much. I mean, you get a nice view, and I thought the little bits of contemporary architecture were very beautiful. That sort of, you know, lovely Chinese way. These wonderful pavilions that sort of give you places to look, and I thought it was a very imaginative landscape.
Thank you. Yeah. And it is concrete. You know, Chinese, it's difficult for them to accept the concrete pavilion. So it's another challenge.
It's great that you've buried all that rubbish under there too, and just sort of, you know, without having to take too much off the site. It's just all been just converted very nicely on site. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Long live the mangrove.
I mean, I have a question. Since we have another minute, I mean, I think, you know, the ecological credentials of this project are impressive. I wonder about the choice of concrete as a material, actually, because that is not what we would put now as the most eco-friendly, low carbon. Why did you choose concrete as the material here?
Yes, you ask us the right question. We compare different material because this plate is, if you use other material for wood, impossible, because it's a tropical region. You know, it can, and there's a storm, typhoons. There's a tropical storm. It's so heavy, you know, it blow away. So the concrete is most to this extent is most sustainable. I mean, sustaining landscape. You know, it can last long. It can last long. Yeah. Yeah. And it is somewhere easy to build, and also because the geothermal, it is cool and it's basically weather resisting. So you have plus and minus, of course. Yeah. But in this case, we find this is the best material for the tropical region. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kongjin. Thank you for the presentation, and congratulations for the beautiful execution of the project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have a long day.